Welcome to SoundBreaker. On today's episode, we're talking to Joe Gallo. Joe, pleasure to have you with us here, who is also the founder and the president, CEO, is it fair to say? Yes, of Catch Buzz. Catch Buzz is a music branding company. I'll let him do all the talking about it. Joe, again, thanks you for joining us today at the SoundBreaker. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with us, give us a bit of your background, who you are, introduce yourself before we dive into it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm Joe. I am the founder of Catch Buzz. We are a brand building agency, so we work on everything from music to spirits to lifestyle to CPG. We're all about essentially like our business is based around cultivating lifelong fans in whatever industry they're in. We happen to have a huge passion for music. And we do artist management, booking, production, basically everything that the modern artist needs to have a successful long-term business that allows them, creative freedom and honestly financial freedom and ownership.
Well, I know it's been before we go, talk about your background first and what got you here. I just want to say, always been a big issue for a lot of independent artists that who need a lot of guidance from marketing, branding. It's something that's always been, now I wouldn't say brushed to the side and overlooked, but a lot of artists they go to these, DIY platform, distribute music, and they get upset. Nothing happened. They have an album, they have two albums, 20 songs or 30 songs, or whatever they have. Nothing happened. Well, nothing can happen. You're sitting in a pot of a data, let's say, even in a vault of data of about millions and millions and tens of millions of songs. There's 100,000 songs, I think they say a week. It gets submitted to Spotify or something like this. So there's so much music being submitted. So you need the branding is important. The strategy as an artist. There's so many things get overlooked. And with Catch Buzz, I'm noticing from what you just mentioned that you have everything all in one, like an ecosystem where the artist doesn't have to jump hoops to a million different platforms. Go here and go here and go there. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that these days. And I feel artists as being um, uh, kind of cash cow in a way, this and they have to have a credit card ready and go to so many platforms.
Yeah, it's honestly, to your point around the crowded space, like there is like as a music fan, there's never been a better time. There's so much awesome music out there. However, it is, artists can't break through if they don't have a story, if they don't have a unique brand world. Um, you know, Talent is a must have, but in this current economy of how people consume music and invest in artists, there needs to be a story, there needs to be a why, there needs to be something that connects the music to different audiences, to different platforms, to different communities. Um, you know, I I hear so many artists who come to me and they don't have a clear direction on essentially their like brand proposition, and they have to understand that those two things have to be synonymous. Gone are the days of unfortunately it's just too competitive of a landscape to just go on, I'm going to put this out there and just like hope people connect with it, because if you don't even have a brand strategy, you don't even know where to put it, and that's a big problem.
Hmm, interesting, very good, valid point. Joe, let's go back a bit. What got you to this point, and what motivated you to start this? What was the vision? And if we go back to your teenage years, um, what really kind of set you on that path to be in the music
Yes.
business?
Yeah, so it was a lot of twists and turns. Essentially, I grew up in like listen, like music was such a big part of my like my immediate household, my extended family household. Listening to like what my older cousins were listening to, like Dave Matthews Band, like Fish, all of those sort of stuff. And I always kind of wanted to like be in their world when I was younger, and kind of like through the years I always found myself kind of connecting to people through music. It kind of like you can kind of when you know a lot about music, you can kind of connect with like a lot of people, and kind of relate with a lot of different people. And so I would just like nerd out about music. I know like an obscene amount of strange like music lore, and I love just like the idea of like music being a time capsule. It's just like really cool to like deep dive into like what the time was like when that music came out, like what was like like what was going on in the writer's head, like what's going on with the sound. So I was always nerding out about it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do even when I went to college. I went to Bowling Green, and but that kind of set me up with my dream to work in music. I studied business. I was really bad at math, and kind of the studies isn't what really guided me towards music career. But I was in a fraternity, and I really enjoyed planning all of our socials and planning all of our special events. And there was just like something like really awesome about curating a time for people, like a good time to like blow off steam, have a good time, and bring joy to people. I started DJing at a bar at the school, promoting it, packing it out. And it was just awesome to like be a vessel for people to like not think about like the bull crap that's going on in their school or their life, and kind of just have a good time. And that kind of inspired me to kind of like be like, well, maybe I'll do like event management. So I basically switched my major to event management, and everybody wanted to be a wedding planner in my university program. I was like the one guy who wanted to do music festivals, and it was great. It was like the first time I ever felt like actually excited to do schoolwork, and it kind of set me on my path now. You know, working in an agency in spirits, I always wanted to work in music, and then kind of from there, I had to just decide to just do it myself.
Amazing. Very inspiring story, I have to say. Really inspiring. Um, and branding is something, I guess, it's part of lifestyle, music, or as you said, music meets lifestyle. And that's where branding come in and all of that. And where a lot of new artists kind of lack and they need some guidance in that. Can you shed the light on that, shed some light on it, and walk us through that path of how it works and why a lot of artists sometimes afraid of it or kind of ignore it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like honestly, at the end of the day, like music is lifestyle. Like lifestyle is all branding, and music is
Correct.
lifestyle. So it's a key component to like
How
any
music and fashion they work hand in hand.
music, fashion,
Always.
music
Oh,
and food, music and spirits, music
yes.
and any music and
Sports.
sports. Every single part of
Mhm.
music lives in every single element of our lives, and we don't
Absolutely.
even think
Yes.
about it. And a lot of artist managers, label people, they don't look into those places where there might not be conversations being had. So I think like when an artist really understands their brand proposition, everything kind of becomes clear. Like, maybe that artist sees a realm in gaming. Maybe they see it in their local community, whether maybe they're very passionate about surfing. Maybe they're very passionate about, you know, cycling. Now they have places where they can actually go and cross over interests, because odds are if like the artist is like very stoked on surfing and like lives and breathes that through their music, obviously the surf community is probably going to connect with it. And so having a deep understanding of like what is the brand DNA of an artist can help open up opportunities like marketing, cross promotion, financial opportunities. But if you don't take a second and like take that in, you're just kind of missing, and you're just kind of like throwing shots in the dark to find your people.
Mm. And you know how important is music in the gaming industry, in the gaming world. I mean, without it, it won't work, it won't operate. Gaming companies invest millions of dollars in actually hiring artists, well-known artists, just to create songs for their games, and they own
It
the rights to these songs. Yeah.
It's honestly like growing up, I played like a lot of video games like MVP baseball, like Madden NFL. and I'll still sit with my friends sometimes. We'll be like, oh, did you remember the MVP baseball 2005 soundtrack, like the Zooton song that was on here? You never would have heard of the Zootons ever, and that song probably was played 9 trillion times by like every 12 to 22-year-old guy from the years 2005 to 2007.
Taking all of this to account and consideration, talk about fashion, talk about sports, talk about gaming, talk about spirit, talk about events, restaurants, bars, every hotels, malls, clothing stores. Obviously, music, it drives the emotion for you to buy, bringing certain energies. So, gyms, can you work out with that? No, you cannot work out. Every gym, every time you work out, everybody has music on. So as music is so important in our life and extremely important, it's part of our, how should I say, emotional mechanism to do things. Um, and and it's not as valued as it should be. That's the part that's really kind of frustrating. Is it because is it held by? Is it been? Is it there's a certain, I would say, groups kind of clutched on it and they won't let go because if it's not broken, why fix it? Because they're still making money based on a broken infrastructure. Maybe it wasn't before, but now it is, and the music business is so behind that technology kind of drives the music business in a way, but it's still the music business using old technologies. Before we started the interview, we talked about metadata and data and all of this. And you said, oh, it's true. It's fake. Half of it, three quarters are fake data. It's not even real data. And it's true. And, why it's not, music business should be way ahead of everything. It's part of our life and it's so implemented in everything we do in our life. Music is part of it. So why it's that? Why it's so behind? Why is so behind?
So I'm gonna kind of go into this in a few different buckets. I think big picture, you have to look at the companies as a whole. Music has traditionally been a industry that is like very gate kept in terms of just like it's a lot of the same people who stay in that industry. They don't really have experience from other industries. I think that is a huge disservice to innovation when you have only people from one industry. And it's a very music is a very siloed industry as well. When I was working on the spirit in the spirits world, um, our spirit CEOs would be going and doing events with tech platforms like Oculus, and they would be doing working with e-commerce platforms and looking to see what's next. And what I found with the music industry is they all just talk to themselves. So you can't really have a lot of new ideas. And meanwhile, you look at other industries that are a lot more democratized, a lot more of a market that is open of an exchange of ideas and innovation, like tech or like big one like finance, so like private equity and all those sort of things, where they're actually collaborating, they're seeing what's working, what's not, and by the time they build a product that will dominate the music industry doesn't even realize it. Like Spotify came and like Spotify kind of fleeced everybody. In the sense that they were like, here's this product. Like the music companies were so far behind. That was a platform that they should have probably have developed. But since they weren't even thinking about it, they were just collecting the easy money because it was easy. They weren't able to innovate. They weren't talking to other people. They're not able to innovate. And so I think like systemically, that's like a big problem with the music industry is they're just not really going outside or having any curiosity about what's happening in other industries. I think then you look at it on the kind of what's happening in the music industry from what I've noticed is there's no like middle class successful small businesses in the music industry. They are diamond, they're very hard to find. Every other industry you could work, Starbucks is awesome and it's very successful. And there's also like 787 coffee that has like 10 locations and like they're cleaning up too. And in the music industry, you have these people who are just like crushing it, good for them. And then you have everybody else who's like not crushing it. And basically, that is a result of, a lack of innovation. B, a lot of these industries are just trying to take in quick money. They're not actually trying to build businesses. So then, when you look at the value of music, why would you? Why would any of these companies be incentivized to create value when they could just kind of collect off of the backs of like the small percentage of people who are making a killing? Um, I think it's not very like. I think there is another way to do this. I think it's like I think like with tech, with people from other industries coming into the music industry. I think you talk about the payment stuff. Like clearly, Spotify sees a lot of value in the music. So why can't people in the music industry negotiate on that behalf? Like there's plenty of money to be made. Money is literally infinite. So there's plenty of money to be made. But you just need an advocate. We need people who are smart and coming from diverse backgrounds of other industries to get the value that the music deserves, because it clearly is valuable.
Extremely valuable. Take
Everybody
music
else
out of
thinks
everything, then you got a problem. You got a major problem.
exactly. Like clearly it's working for the gaming industry. Clearly it works in film. Clearly it works in every other industry. And it's like the music industry is the one selling their stuff out for pennies on the dollar because they have no foresight.
Yes, and it scares a lot of investors to come in, a lot of new money to come in and invest in it, to say, hey, let's change this whole infrastructure. Let's add tech to it. Let's collaborate with other things. Let's expand it a lot more. And it seems like it's always been closed. And it's only closed by the certain people have been in it for a long time. And it's became at a point where it's looked down onto, not a serious business. The music business, no, it's not a real business, not a
It's
serious
not.
business. What the hell? Are you kidding me? You kidding me? You cannot have a car without a radio in it. Everybody say, "Where's the music? I need to hear some music." You cannot go to a bar or restaurant without music. You cannot walk into a clothing store without music in the background. So all of the ambience, the atmosphere, oh, that's music being created, whether it's AI generated or artist created.
Yeah.
It's still music. So you need so music is valuable. It's important then. So why is not being treated that way? You know, why a parent say no, you don't want to be in the music industry. No, go study something that has more value to it. But why? The music business has a lot of value to it. It brings so much to our life. It actually, as you said, it's culturally important. It brings in fashion, culture, new innovation, new styles, and new everything. I mean, clothing always related to the music business. What
Yeah.
to wear, the way you dance, and the whole thing just works together.
$1 billion industries play off music. Like the
Billions
entire
of dollars
music
industries.
industry,
Yes,
the
yes.
entire nightlife industry is like needs music. The entire like spirits industry needs music. The entire culinary and it's such a key part of every business. It's kind of crazy where everybody's like that it's not making more money, to be honest, and that everybody isn't getting paid.
Well, we need to change that.
Yeah.
It's about time. Right now, it's the time to change it because, technology is moving fast. AI is moving fast, not just generative AI, no, AI in general. And it's going to change. Our artist identity, artist empowerment, fans, collaboration. The only thing I think boarding some flavor to this music industry and some flair, I would say TikTok. The way it came in, it became that fun experience, that viral videos or music that you never heard of, artists you never heard of, dancing and just coming out with certain lyrics and all of a sudden becomes so viral that it's not you can't even sustain it. It became massive and marketing involved in it and merchandising. So yes, I think it just innovation need to come into it. Innovation need to come in. Other heads outside of the music industry, other contributors, you know open the doors.
Yeah.
Actually, it cannot be gatekept anymore. It can't. It doesn't work anymore.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't.
work.
It's no, it's not. It's taking it down, and then it's going to go a different direction. So we need it.
And like honestly, a great example of that is like you're talking about TikTok, and TikTok has been the great decentralization, democratization of exposure of
Yeah.
basically of new talent, new artists. And look what happens when a lot of these big TikTok artists go over to the music industry.
Hmm.
If their stock, they can't sell 100 tickets. It's because they never these people in the music industry didn't put the time to build the brand, knowing that the TikTok is actually just a marketing funnel. It's not a business. You don't even know who those followers are. We don't have access to that data. Why are we
No.
investing this money? And it's literally just a number on a screen. And then you look at Spotify. Spotify was, when it first came out, was very disruptive in terms of how finding new artists and the playlist curation. And then you look to when the major labels started to get involved, and now it's like a lot of those editorials don't move the needle anymore. Like that's not going to break an artist. Is getting on New Music Friday is not going to break an artist. It's definitely like fine. It's good. It's a good win. But that impact has depreciated over time. And I think we're going to see the same thing with TikTok. As now a lot of these music companies start to do stuff with them, you're going to see it make less of an impact for artists. And then all of these companies are going to tell the artists to do more on it, but it's actually not going to benefit them.
Hmm. Interesting.
Just
Well, I
that
guess
my connecting of the dots could be wrong.
this is the kind of knowledge you get at Catch Buzz with Joe Gallo. You see the open mind thinking about the music business and how it need to be changed and how we empower artists and take it to the next level and be open minded to many things. And yes, that's why you do need to come to to Catch Buzz. If you're a new artist, you need help, you need management, definitely. Joe, you've been in the business for a minute, obviously, and I love the way you think and your approach and your vision. It's really, I do interview a lot of people, and I'm not going to discredit anybody. Everybody has their own view and success and track record in the music business. That's what we call it, SoundBreaker. People who broke the sound barrier and went beyond, and all of that. So any advice for a lot of these independent artists or people who wants to start in the business? You have the artistic side of the music business, the artist side, the creative side, and you have the business side. And you did both. So what advice do you have so they don't get discouraged?
Well, I think there's no reason to be discouraged. I think there is more opportunity now than ever in music. I think there is we live in a world where, because there's so much like rapid change happening, there's so much, and there's honestly that, and a lot of the practices are archaic. It actually provides a huge lane for people just starting out, because they're not going to be uh, like boxed in for how they build a business. So I think first off is like having a good, like it's still going to be hard, but I think like having the attitude of like a not scarcity. I think a lot of people have a scarcity mentality when it comes to the music business. And I think that's why they do bad deals. And I think that's why they are a lot of times aren't successful. So I think the mindset is very important. And then I think having a strong sense of identity in your music and what you are as an artist, if you have a strong understanding, you can build a good team around you. Because you could have the best team in the world, if you don't even know how to communicate or bring your brand vision, your team to execute it, there's nothing really to execute. So
Mm,
having a really, as an artist, that's your responsibility to have that creative vision. A partner, like myself, can assist and help coach along to hone that brand world and messaging in. But you need to be you're the CEO of the business. So having a strong sense of brand identity is hugely important, because then you can build a team. Then you have a vision that your team can execute. Um, and then I guess like third is just um, the music industry. From what I've experienced in like 3.5 years, is it's all like a look economy. Like everything's a look, and you don't. But you don't, businesses aren't built on looks, they're built on good business. And I
Correct.
think that a lot of time artists will see like the shiny, and managers and the record labels and everybody will see the shiny keys jangled, and they will make bad business decisions um, to for perception, and that will take away from actually building good business infrastructure. And then lastly on that is the it's very important to be able to, when you're working with partners, and this is like any partner in any other industry, and music is the only industry. So if they do not give you a KPI on what success looks like, do not work with them. If they cannot give a benchmark of what success looks like and a tangible plan on how to get there, do not work with them. And I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Like, I've made that mistake personally. I'm sure I'll, and I've seen artists make that mistake. And in the looks economy, you might want to sign with a big agent, and you will never get. They will have no plan, but it's a good look that you're on the roster there, and they won't do anything for you. They're going to make you do everything, and then they're going to collect their money. And I think having a strong sense of um, the people who you bring on, having they understand the vision, they have KPIs of what that vision looks like to get executed, is a must, and everybody in the music industry should take that advice in whatever they're doing.
Joe, I'm noticing more and more that a lot of artists these days started to open up to the idea to kind of use AI to help them get their goal, to their vision faster. Sometimes artists, lyrical artists who are able to write and sing, but they cannot produce music. Sometimes they don't have the funds or the time to go to a studio, to a producer, or the fear of being whatever it is. Using AI to kind of like, you know what, I'll use AI to help me. I'll sing it. I'll have use one of the platforms out there to create my music. A lot of producers using AI also to help them get the ideas much faster, done much faster, more creatively. Like 50 AI, 50 them. So I'm noticing more and more of that, which is we started to kind of accept, hey, AI is here. Technology is always going to lead the way in every industry, in our lifestyle and all of that. So we cannot ignore it. So we're going to need to adapt, to learn to use it to our benefit. We're not looking to replace, but to our benefit.
100%. This has been like a topic that I've like, it's like I go back and forth on a lot. And I see a lot of different, with my algorithms, I see a lot of different perspectives on it, which is like helpful, because like one time I'll be like, no, that makes sense, or this. So I'm trying to take the best ideas from all perspectives. But what I've found with AI is it's a tool, and like I don't think it will replace music, you know, individual human creation. And when you look at it, it's an innovative tool. I don't think when like the printing press came out, people were like, if you're not writing every 100 articles over and over again, you're not like a real artist. That would be a crazy, I'm sure people were saying it back then, but I like looking back, that's not a crazy thing. I think the human element is actually a big part of AI from what I've read about it, like the prompts and all of this sort of stuff, where it's actually going to make it music more accessible to people. In my opinion, I think it's going to open people's, maybe who haven't experimented with music, to
Yeah.
experiment with music. Like all of that is good. I'm sure there's going to be, listen, there's like some nitty gritty stuff about like royalties. I don't know. I can't pretend to know enough about that. But as far as like, if you're a business, like I'm a business owner, and I use it for tools that will open my bandwidth up to focus on things that are more fulfilling for me, or more financially beneficial. I would hope that artists use those same tools. Why would you play the game with a arm tied around your back? I guess if you want to, go ahead. But that's kind of my opinion. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Joe, what's next for the music business? You seeing how we're transitioning? Are we going? What's next?
I think we are going to, how I look at it is, instead of going wide, we're going deep. That's how I build all the artists that I work with. We're actually focused on going really deep with people as opposed to just wide on surface level. Spotify has this thing where it's like listeners, like who are the listeners? They're listeners, they're not fans. Fans don't Fans spend money, listeners don't. Listeners are just listening. So I think we need to have an approach to business building, where we're actually focused on the fan and actually providing value to fans. Like at the end of the day, they are our customers. I come from an agency side, so I sometimes I come across very, very like, I do care deeply about the creative, but at the end of the day, we are providing a service to people and we want to make it easy for them to engage with us. And most importantly, I think where the music business is going is data ownership. No more, I couldn't be less interested in vanity data points. I don't care if we had 30,000 monthly listeners if I don't know who they are. And I think that's a question artists need to start asking. I think that's a question that managers need to start asking, is like, who are these people? And where can we go and build our own infrastructure to know who those people are? Because then we
Hmm.
can better serve them. Then we can build bigger relationships with them. So I think it's like more, it's actually kind of going more relationship based.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think it's going deeper, as opposed to the surface level, um, which is what we've been in, I think, for the last like 20 years.
Amazing. Joe, you mentioned earlier you love to surf, and obviously for that you go to Puerto Rico. You spend a lot of, much of your time there. Also, you divide your time between New York and Puerto Rico. How does surfing really kind of fit into your, I should say, work, your lifestyle, and how does it kind of, kind of make you focus more? How does it change your direction always at work? And, because they say it's a life, everything you do is a lifestyle, and your lifestyle affect your success, your outcome, your vision, how you do things, and all of that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I try to get out on the water as much as I can. It's kind of the only time maybe that I'm like actually not thinking about work, because you just have to be really present in the moment. So it's nice to like, have maybe like a couple hours a week where I'm like not thinking about work. And then, just also being like, I've really, really loved, being on being in Puerto Rico. It's such an amazing place, like from a creative perspective. It's just culturally a lot different, and there's some amazing music. Like, it goes so beyond just Bad Bunny. We are missing out on so much awesome music from Puerto Rico. It's like incredible, and they love live music, and there's so many great artists. And it's just really cool to kind of get yourself out of, a headspace that you might be in New York, and kind of be, more kind of in the present. And I think a little bit more, focus on what's going on like directly around you as opposed to just in that tunnel vision.
Amazing. Well, it's been a great interview. There's so much to talk about. I think that I could extend that interview even for another hour. But we don't want to bore our listeners. But there's
Yeah.
so much insightful information there, which is really great, really insightful and inspiring, actually. Joe, anything you'd like to say that upcoming with Catch Buzz before?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. I would say, like if I'm an independent manager and, brand builder, and I think we can kind of sometimes feel a little bit on our silos and kind of feel like lost on an island. So like if you're a artist, songwriter, producer, like another manager, booking agent, that might be doing their own thing. I think it's always good, like, strengthen numbers, and, feel free to anytime drop me a line if get feedback on a song, feedback on any, like, I love music. I love like talking about how I can help connect music with more people. I think it's just like inherently good. So like, don't be afraid. Like if you got a song or whatever, send it over.
How can people get a hold of you, Joe?
Yeah, like Instagram. We're on at CatchBuzzMGMT. Via email, joe at catchbuzz.co, not .com. And just on LinkedIn, wherever. I'm out and around.
Amazing. Well, Joe, I want to thank you for joining us today at SoundBreaker. And this concludes today's episode of SoundBreaker. Please make sure you follow us on socials and stay tuned for new episodes. Joe, it was really a pleasure having you, my friend. Definitely enjoyed it.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the SoundBreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.